Welcome! I'm Michelle Anderson, the founder of Clarinet Mentors, and today I want to give you a couple of pointers to help improve your clarinet reeds so that they last longer for you and respond a little bit more easily. I've put on a reed here today that's getting kind of old. It's probably near the end of its life. Used to play really well, starting to sound not so good, and yet I'm not quite ready to let go of it because I'm hoping I could extend its life a little bit, and I have a tool here that's going to help me do that. So first of all, I'm just going to show you what it sounds like. It sounded pretty good yesterday, and today it feels hard to blow. It sounds airy and fuzzy, and I might be wondering, well, how did that reed change so much overnight? It's like it suddenly went stiffer. Let's see what it sounds like. Now, I don't know what you can hear through the computer. I mean, it's not a bad reed. It still sounds all right. But I hear a little hiss in the sound that I'm not happy with. Now, normally reeds will get a little bit softer every time we play on them. And sometimes a reed gets old and too soft, and that's the reason we end up discarding it, because it's too soft to use. If a reed seems to get stiffer, be suspicious that the back of it is warping. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So where the reed goes over the hole in our mouthpiece, in other words, this hole right here, that part of the reed gets really wet, whereas the stuff around it not so much. And sometimes on an older reed, if you look at the back side of it, I'm going to zoom in close on my reed here so you can see this. Sometimes on the back side, we can even start to see a little window. We can almost see that line engraved into the reed where it fit across the mouthpiece. And what tends to happen is that little window area starts to swell up, so the reed does not sit flat upon the mouthpiece. And when that happens, we can actually get air leaking out the sides a little bit. And that leaking makes it sound fuzzy, airy, and stiff. So if you're suspicious of your reed and you might be wondering, gosh, is my reed warping? You can check it by putting it on a very flat surface. Now there's some great gadgets to help you with this. This is a Van Doren reed resurfacer, and I'm going to put a link in where you can buy something like this because I think they're a really handy tool to have. The reed resurfacer has a flat surface, and I'm going to lay my reed flat upon it, and I'm going to be taking a look at it from the thick end. Now, if this reed is in great shape, because at the factory it was carved to be perfectly flat, we're going to find that it sits completely still on the flat surface. If the middle of it has sort of swollen up, the reed might rock a bit. That's not a good thing. So the way you're going to test it is knowing that the place that's most likely warped is right across the center of the cut here. I'm going to push gently on either side of that, sort of like this. And we're going to see if this reed wobbles. So I don't know if you can see, it is wobbling a little bit. So I can feel it wobbling. I'm sure you can see a little bit of this type of activity. I'm going to take a closer look. Yeah, it's definitely warped. So that's part of the reason this reed wasn't playing as well as it was yesterday. So this is what a reed resurfacer does for you. I recommend owning one, but you can also do a homemade one by taking a piece of glass, maybe a little small picture frame, and putting very, very fine sandpaper on it. I'm going to set it on the reed resurfacer. I'm going to just press my fingers down fairly evenly on there, and I'm going to move it in kind of a figure-8 motion. So I'm actually sanding the back a little bit flatter. Sometimes after just a couple of strokes, I'll look at the reed and I'll be able to see some parts of the reed are sanded clean and other parts are still kind of the old aged wood that it was. So it's kind of sanding in stripes. Those are the parts of the wood that had swollen up a bit. So I sand a bit, I check it. You only want to sand the minimum amount that you need to make it flat. This one needs just a little bit more. Doesn't take much. And then I'll take a look at it again. So it's getting a lot better. And what I want to do, this does dry it out, is I'll get it wet and try it again and see if I feel a difference. Now, whenever I have a student come in and say their reed got harder overnight, that's the clue that the back of the reed has probably warped. And we'll pull out the reed resurfacer, flatten it out, and it can make it a lot better. So this extends your playability quite a long time for a reed. Some reeds never warp at all. Some reeds tend to warp. If they warp once, I often find they may warp again in a couple of days, but it's pretty easy to flatten them out and certainly extend your reed by at least a few more good sessions. You'll have to get it wet again. You can have your water handy, which I often use, or as many people do, just get it wet in your mouth. And I'm going to try this again. Wow, feels much better to me. Knowing I can go back into the editing room, I'm going to very quickly edit the before and after together, because I think even through your computer you're going to hear a difference there. So here we go. What I feel at this end is suddenly I have a beautiful, warm, resonant reed again, which I really like, something I didn't have a moment ago. So that really helps me out when I'm playing my clarinet. There's one more little thing you can do to a reed that might be getting old and might have changed shape and is not working so well for you. Sometimes when our reeds get wet and dry, the tip of the reed will kind of get ripply, almost like, this is my ginormous clarinet reed here, almost like if I'm looking at the tip, it's kind of bent up like this, so it's no longer looking flat. It has bows or curve in it. Here's a reed that has it a little bit. Just if I hold this straight onto the camera, I can see this reed is not totally flat on the tip. Not sure how well you can see that, but what I see is it does this. It goes up a little bit, down a little bit, and then up again a little bit. Now this is going to cause me problems when I put this reed on my clarinet. And I'm going to illustrate it with my giant mouthpiece and my giant reed here. When we're playing clarinet and the reed is positioned on the mouthpiece, what the reed actually does is vibrate very quickly open and shut against the mouthpiece. And for it to sound best, it's very important that the reed completely closes over this hole and we get a very tight seal. It's kind of sealing and unsealing many times a second, but that's what's going to give us a good sound. If we could sort of look at this sideways, now this is a 2D instead of 3D model, but if my reed was bent with a hole in it, it might be that the edges of my reed are sealing, but the middle is not closing. So as it's trying to close, there's a hole there. I can look through it. It's not going to do its job properly. And what we're going to feel is the reed is hard to play, fuzzy sounding, and maybe squeaking as well. When that happens on your older reed, sometimes you can see that just by looking down on your clarinet. In this case, I just kind of took a look at some of my older reeds to see if one of them had warped. There is a quick way if you're away from all tools and you just want to kind of fix it on the fly that you can improve it. What you need to do is make sure the tip is very wet. So again, you can put it in water, you can moisten it with your mouth. It has to be wet and soft for this to work. We're going to actually use our mouthpiece as the tool to improve this. So where we place our reed, underneath that hole, there's just a flat spot, sometimes called the table. What I'm going to do is put the tip of my reed perpendicular to the mouthpiece on that table. And what I'd like it to do, as I put it on there, is make sure that it's not sticking over the edge of it, but that the whole tip is on the flat part. And I'm going to take one of my thumbs and hold it firmly in place. So the tip is now pressed flat against the table with my other finger, very, very, very gently. I'm going to wiggle this up and down. Now, if we do this a lot, I'm going to break the reed. Just gentle, gentle motions. Something about that moves through the reed and flattens out those fibers. Sometimes we need to get it wet and do it twice. So as I just looked at that, yeah, it's getting better. There's still a little bit of a bow in the middle of this reed. So I'm going to press it flat, wiggle it around a little bit. That's what it looks like on the reed, on the mouthpiece. Pull it off. Ah, now it looks flat. I put it on and it's going to play better. This is another way to take a reed that might have been rippled and warped so much it didn't sound good, and then have one that plays much better again. So I like having pointers that make our reeds last longer. It's you know, no fun to always be breaking in new reeds, and it's nice to get as much life out of them as we can. So there you go, 2 little pointers on how to make old reeds kind of renew themselves a bit and last longer. I hope it's helpful to you, and I thank you for watching today's video. There's a comment box right under this video, and I'd love to hear from you. If you have any comments and your own reed pointers and tips, please let me know. I check the comments about once a week, and I will respond to you. And I want to invite you to become a member of my Clarinet Mentors community. If you're not, it's totally free to join. You just go to www.learnclarinetnow.com and sign up. Once you're a member, about every 2 to 3 weeks, I send out a newsletter with an educational video, just like today's, and I throw in lots of other clarinet information. I'll recommend some of my favorite gadgets or music or clarinet pieces of gear that I think would be of interest to you, and also special clarinet events. Totally free to join. If it's not a good fit for you, it's really easy to unjoin at any time, but I'd love to have you join the community. Thanks again for watching today's video, and I look forward to seeing you on another one soon.